welcome to another portrait painting video. Today, as we develop this painting a little bit further than we did last time, I want to talk about three traps, or let's just call them three problems that can arise when we are working as artists. So I've got this a little bit more clear for you this time. So number one is going to be thinking about color mixtures. Let's just talk about that for a second here as I actually start to mix some color. And before I mix the color, remember I told you thinking about color mixtures is going to be the first trap. So the first trap is going to be thinking about color mixtures. But anyway, here are the colors that I suggest to use for portrait painting. Number one, you've got all of the primaries. You've got the primary yellow, the primary red, you've got cobalt blue, and then you have black and white, and all the other colors are secondary colors that are going to be useful for you there. So let's talk about why thinking about color is a trap. So remember, this is a live painting session, so I will be answering some questions while the video goes along. If you have any questions while you're watching this live, please feel free to let me know. And there are no real distractions or anything like that. I'm used to painting and talking. I've been doing this for many, many years. So hey Mark L, welcome. Alright, so I'm gonna talk about the problem with thinking about your color mixtures. So for example, as I was talking to you, I just mixed up this color right here as I'm gonna continue developing this form. What I want for you is to understand that if you are thinking about what color am I going to use to make a certain effect, you're not thinking about what hue you are observing. What hue are you looking at? And what is this hue relative to the surrounding hues? And there's a whole complexity of values. And if you stop and think, is this cadmium orange and white? Is this burnt sienna, ultramarine blue and white? Is this gray and orange? What is it? How can I recreate the color that I see? And that's a problem, because you want to train yourself to see things in sequence. So you see, for example, let's say a sunset. You're looking at the sunlight. I know that's kind of cliche, but think about Monet out there doing his paintings. He was probably so used to the activity of reaching for color on his palette that the question was not, how do I create that bright sunlight? Not how am I going to go into cadmium orange or cadmium yellow and add a little bit of alizarin to make a certain effect, but rather, what is this effect in relation to everything else? Now, for example, if this starts to look a little bit different, if it departs from what I see in a yellow type hue, you should automatically in your mind know, alright, so if it's going yellow, well, let me just combat that with something closer to the gray or the violet, and I will bring it down. Now obviously there's limited palette. The Zorn palette is going to make it a little bit easier for you to not have those issues, but what's important is to think about the effect. Think about the hue relative to the surrounding hues, and not so much what color that I use. However, like I said, this is a live stream, so if you want to know exactly what color I used, I can give you my best guess, but I'm pretty much just picking and choosing from my palette to try to create the effect that I see. And so the biggest advice I can give you is do not change your palette frequently. Do not change your palette frequently. This palette will work just fine for most portraiture, and it'll even work with landscape because you've got cobalt blue, black, you have magenta, you've got sap green. This will even work with landscape. Now you may want to introduce a phthalo blue or a Prussian blue for landscape, but don't change your palette very much, especially the way you lay the colors out on your palette. If you end up changing your palette setup or your colors too much, you're going to introduce problems. So you really want to be used to the palette setup that you use. Hey Lewis Wolf, I'm doing good. No, I haven't heard of that color. I have not heard of that one. Yin and blue, haven't heard of that one. So now that I've spoken about color, and again, it's kind of a plot twist. It's not that I'm telling you not to think about color. I'm telling you not to think about what color mixture. Think about the hue, think about the effect that you're after, and let that mixture happen automatically as you reach for certain colors on your palette. So for example, on my palette, I know it's not the same exact one on the picture, but I know where my reds are, and I know where the blues and the violets are. They're set up in the same exact way. Okay, so what's the next one? Not working from life. Not working from life is the next big trap, and it is something that I've definitely fallen into a routine of just complacency, working from references, working from imagination, not wanting to deal with traffic to commute to go paint from life with groups. So that's something I've done recently. That's something that I'm kind of changing. I'm working from life much more frequently now. But if you're not working from life often, well, the biggest solution is going to be either self-portrait or still life. But why is not working from life a trap? I have noticed over many years that certain artists will, for example, go to a painting session and print out a photograph, bring that out, and work from the photograph and work from the live model at the same time. Not to shame anyone, obviously. I'm here to explain things that I've seen and how we can avoid these things. Like I said, remember, I've worked a lot more from pictures these past few years than I probably should have, mostly due to just not wanting to commute to go paint in groups. So self-portraits and still life are a great solution if you do not have the means to work from life frequently. And try to do it at least once. I want to say once a week. Try to work from life. Like I said, even if it's just a simple still life, something about seeing the shapes in front of you in 3D kind of gets you thinking more about the 3D effect than the 2D nature of the photograph. And there's a lot of flatness to this this reference and to the painting that I started last week, this one. And this will be the last stream for this particular painting. I think I will probably just only feature one painting at a time per video, just because it's a little bit easier to manage. But anyway, let's see. You wrote YN Blue was the first blue inventor of. Oh, I didn't know about that. Didn't know. Those of you that are still here, I did this on purpose. I explained a little bit longer with the first two, thinking about color mixtures and then not working from life. Those of you that are still here watching the video or are still here during this part of the live stream, this is the next one. Negative thinking. Negative thinking. How general is that? Negative thinking. Well, the number one negative thinking that I have heard of and dealt with on my own, number one is looking at what people post on social media and feeling down because you can't or haven't done what they're doing or accomplished what they're doing in their work. And this is true in many fields. This is true in sports. This is true in basically life in general. I mean, if you went to school with someone and you were friends, but then you just kind of, grew apart, next thing you find out, they're multi-millionaires and they're posting everything about their life, about how great their lives are and stuff like that. You never really know how that's going to affect you until it gets into your subconscious. When you're painting and you think about a post that your friend uploaded or post that I uploaded or that someone did, and it's in the back of your mind and it creates some kind of doubt. That's not good. That's something that is akin to comparing ourselves to others, and I've got a solution for that, and it's something that I picked up, actually not in painting, but I picked it up in sports. I was playing a game called pocket billiards, which is a sport. It's not as physical of a sport as others, but very mental. So let me share that with you here. Let's see, I missed a comment from Mark. This I could have worked on it the next day. I use Alkyd paint, so but this has been a week now. A week since I started this one, and I knew as soon as I got to this point that that it would be, a good stopping point, and here everything is a little bit, more predictable in terms of developing the painting. So here's the solution. This is something I learned from playing pool. If you've ever played pool before and you've had some coaches or like you met some people, and this comment of this is a similar thing that other people talk about in different sports or different disciplines. Number one, you're playing the table, not the opponent. So you're playing the table and not the opponent. Do not let yourself get intimidated by whoever you're playing the game against. You're not playing against them, because by the time they leave, they miss a shot, or they safety you, or they leave a ball on the table, they're done with the table. They're not even part of the equation. You see, it's the table. You're playing the table. And to me, that was tough to do, especially if I knew I was playing someone that was like super high level or somebody that was like semi-pro. It was kind of really intimidating, but here's how that translates to painting. And the way it translates to painting is something similar to what Bob Ross would say. See, I'm pulling all the stunts here. I'm even bringing up some good old Bob Ross here for you. Even though he wasn't a classical painter, he still had a lot of really useful insights, especially into positive thinking. So, number one, he would say, it's your world. That is correct to some extent. It's your world. You can do what you want. This is really positive thinking in painting. But in portrait painting, well, there's an issue, and that issue is technique. You see, there's always going to be a challenge, whether it's likeness, whether it's form, light effect, composition. It's not as simple as, a quick 30-minute, 40-minute landscape. And even in this case, it's not as simple as this. It's not as simple as a quick 1 hour, 2 hour portrait sketch. This is not really what's going to determine my body of work, my career in the long run. For me, I think it's more of combining video with painting and then basically exemplifying it all in my studio work and my life work. What it is you are a open book to yourself. You're always striving for more knowledge. The knowledge is right here. There is a gap between here and your mind. And if you focus your attention to striving for more knowledge, because some of it is not going to happen right away. Sometimes it just happens when we make a mistake or when we step away from our painting and we're like, oh wow, there's something else to it. But don't worry if you've gotten to the point where, all right, I've heard all this guy has to say. It's almost over. And the rest is just going to be painting. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is summarize everything that I've just said to you. And then, for the duration of this video, I will simply paint and explain whenever questions arise about the painting. So let me go ahead and summarize what I just presented to you. Number one, don't think about color mixtures, rather think about color effects. Think about the color of the light in relation to the color of the shadow. Think about the hues, not the mixtures. Number two, not working from life. Again, we've got self-portraits and still life. There's always a way to work from life. Next, negative thinking. Be mindful that if you spend too much time looking at posts that other people upload, not just in art, but if you spend too much time on the social media platforms, that could present some negative thinking, that could present some doubts. So use social media with moderation. All right. That is my summary of the 3 big traps. And the rest of the time now, I'm just going to paint. Let's see. Mark, you said missed the first painting session. Yeah, I already commented on that. Okay, no problem, CG. All right, so everybody else that's watching stream. Okay, so if you came here for the title of the video, class is dismissed. The rest is going to be just me painting and hanging out. Oh, sorry. All right, so notice I didn't show up for a week, right? The last time I worked on this was last week. And so, as I am kind of entering different stages of my painting career, I want to announce to those of you that are still, watching, that are still interested, announce that I am going to return to maybe just one live stream a week. This is because I'm painting from life on Wednesdays now and Saturdays. I'm painting from life on Saturdays, Wednesdays, and I'm going to continue going to this group on Thursdays, a different group. What this means for my live streams, it means that you will probably have one live stream a week. I'm thinking Thursday is probably the one. Pre-recorded videos I'm going to upload both for Patreon and for YouTube. So I will upload a video for Patreon, but I will condense it down into a shorter time lapse, and of course I'll narrate it for YouTube. I already got that, at least the first video started. The painting that you saw on the bottom right, this is going to be the first one. This is a painting that that I've been working on for the first upcoming video. For Patreon, we'll have the full 4 to 5 hours. YouTube will get about 30 minutes of that video, time lapsed, maybe a little bit more. But the goal is I am now doing more professional work. I'm got another commission potentially coming in. So I guess the time for, what we've been doing is going to change. But like I always said, I'm not going to disappear. Hey, Mr. Herb Jones said, oh, cool. Glad you like the instruction. Oh, yeah. Black, white, burnt umber. You can even use black. Well, actually, I think I said burnt sienna. Yeah, black, white, and burnt sienna. So how you doing, GG? How's everybody doing? Alright, so for my vignette, I'm not really going to focus too much on the neck. Just have enough for that and then let it be. So I'm going to have a light brush and a dark brush. So back on the topic of color, when I say don't think about the mixture, what I usually do is I will place down a shape. It's kind of like I look at the subject and look at the palette right away, but I don't really look at my hand going to the mixture, or going to the color. So for example, I just used everything from green, red, I couldn't even tell you. And it's a good thing if you find yourself painting and someone asks you, what color did you use to make that? And you have no clue. That means you're working with your intuition with the color. You want to internalize everything. And like I said, I'm not too much of a fan of the short poses at the art group on Thursdays, but I did a short 1 hour oil pastel. I just shared it on my story on Instagram last week. So I didn't really share the painting, the oil pastel, but I really like the quick. I don't know. It's how I was taught at Student Caminati in Philly. The first couple classes are pretty much all gesture drawing. Gesture meaning short pose. And for me, a 1 hour portrait is kind of like a gesture. It's like a portrait gesture. So learning how to do that with oil pastel, especially from life, I think that has, just in a week, hasn't kind of helped me improve. I enjoy it. It's a challenge, but I enjoy it. I've done a few oil pastel videos last year, but yeah, it's a really fun material. Once again, I appreciate all of you for tuning in to this one. Like I told you, I'm not really a fan of adding multiple sessions to a portrait on YouTube. I do this all the time on my own, but it's not helpful for me on YouTube. It's actually hurtful for my YouTube. So this stream will probably end relatively short. So those of you that are still here, want to say hello or want to comment, let me know. I didn't want to just upload something new and then, never post this one again. This one did quite well last week, the start of it. But as I knew, I told you, as soon as I add more than one video, no bueno, no good. And did I say I really like the texture that you get from these alkyd oil paints? I don't know if I spoke about it enough, but it's because they're so fast to dry, they settle so quickly. You really kind of develop a nicer texture. And when it comes to form, I'll tell you what, there's a certain level of realism that can be developed if you stay further away from the canvas. But something similar to that, when you're working from life, there's almost this I don't know how to describe it, but the smaller planes kind of just fit into the, I want to say, like, the atmosphere. It's kind of hard for me to put into words. Like I could tell a lot now, like looking at this, especially like something like this, especially this little dark piece. I don't think I would have done that if this was a live modeling session. I think I'm a little bit more aware of the softness of these kinds of forms. So again, you can have that kind of from life effect working with pictures, but I'd say work a little bit faster than you think, because I think that was just me complacent right there. I can see where things didn't go well on this painting. Also, part of it, I want to say, is from sitting for too long. Like I said, these these streams have been really helpful, at least for me, to be able to see the shapes faster. But I think I've reached the limit of what this can do for me now. Alright, you know what? I think I'm gonna go a little crazy with this one. I think I will actually add the background. I didn't think I would, but since this dries right away. I've got a lot of alkyds out on my palette, and I don't really want them to just dry. Like I said, they're really tough to save because they dry so fast. So let me just use them up, paint the background, have some fun with it. Hey, Jonas. Welcome, welcome. I did read some comments of people that like, to just watch the painting develop. So that's why I don't talk quite as much, especially at this stage of the painting. Try to leave it without so much talking. But when I do have to explain something, this is a very kind of basic Rembrandt light background. Light against dark, dark against light. So light against dark. See that? Dark against light. However, mostly what I wanted was just kind of like a little bit of some brushstrokes in the background. And considering that the vignette should be part of the equation, I think I'm just gonna go for more of a kind of like a flat look to the contour. Um, I so if you're against time, yes, painting the background faster is a good thing. But typically, if you are going to consider painting a background in a portrait sketch like this or a portrait study like this, try to let the background be as uh, contrasting as possible, but don't let it be something that takes up more than, say, 10 minutes of your time. So, but if it's more of a composition painting, like if there's an environment that you want to display or a light effect, then I would suggest almost doing the background elements even earlier, like probably at the same time that you're um, introducing the figures or the figure. But I didn't really think too much about this background, to be honest. I threw it in there because I kind of just didn't want to use up, or I didn't want my alkyds to just dry on me. They're a little bit harder to store, but I mean you can put them in a container and put them in the freezer, but they will still start to dry. That's why I don't put too much of my alkyd paint out. Yeah, I almost in the same sitting, now that I'm painting from life a little bit more, um, like the first 30 minutes sitting or 20 minutes sitting, I almost always put something in the background. Um, Even if it's just compositional lines for like a door is going to be over here, or like a cabinet over here, just something. All right. I think we're almost there. I don't want to put too much detail, but we can put just a little something more, especially for this edge of the mouth. There's always something with the mouth, right? No problem, Markel. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, um, I think for me doing these, especially like tutorial style videos, multiple, meaning more than one session, is though it's the time that I need to complete something like this on a stream, it is not so good with YouTube. The last video did so well, I didn't want to do a second one of this painting, but I feel like I owe it to you all to see it through, even though, I'm gonna lose some pennies by uploading this. But I don't know. You know what? I think the most fun of the streams for me personally is the portrait sketches. If I'm gonna be real honest, I really like the 2 hour sketches. Even though I don't think I can get to this level in 2 hours. I don't know. They're kind of fun. But like I said, I want to. Like I said last week, I want to do more realistic stuff, like like this one for YouTube. But I still want it to be fun, though. And even if I'm only streaming for you, say like Thursdays, because I'm trying to paint from life more frequently. I don't know. I feel like you're gonna have to leave a comment or something. What you prefer? Maybe just do a poll. Do you prefer like one long live stream on Thursdays? Do you prefer just simply pre-recorded video? I don't know. I'm gonna have to create a poll, I think, because I don't know the answer myself. Oh, thanks, Jonas. I try to come up with topics too, like the topic of this video about the 3 problems. And to be honest, there's more than 3, but those 3 were the ones that were in my head at the time of titling the video. Yeah, I painted from life yesterday, so I'll be painting from life Wednesdays, Saturdays, and potentially Tuesdays. It's just gonna take a toll on my car, but I don't know. I think might as well go out with the blades of glory. Just go for it. Because I noticed this takes a toll on me when I paint from pictures all day. It takes a toll on me. And of course, still life helps. But most of my content is portrait. Oh, thanks, Markel. I think you're right with that. Like I said, I really didn't want to do a second um, video for this one because I knew that it would be very difficult to to get people interested in it. But I don't know. I don't know really. I think maybe just like a longer stream on Thursdays or something. Maybe that way I can show you the whatever new stuff I learn as I work from life more often. I'm not sure. I also met with someone that we might be able to collaborate and start like a portrait group in my area. Well, not having to drive a whole state away, that is. But I won't talk too much about that till I have more information. I don't know, my friends. I just like to paint, but also like try to challenge myself. And not that this is easier by any means, but it's just more work to produce pre-recorded. I don't know. You said you have a problem with distortion working from live feeds or photos. Yeah, so if you don't use an easel, so basically if you don't have your surface at 90, this is 90 degrees relative to me. You're gonna introduce distortion unknowingly by not having the surface at 90 degrees. So like 90 degrees and eye level, try to have eye level like somewhere around here if we're working a 9 by 12 or something around this size. For me, I actually struggle because I have this a little bit higher than my eye, um, my center of vision. So I know what you mean by the distortion thing. Yeah, ideally you want an easel, um, so that you work without having any kind of angle, because that's what will create unwanted distortion. Because it looks undistorted to you until you rotate the 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 sketchbook. I don't really like how this hair falls right onto the dark light. I have to edit that. I think that's fine though, right here. Yeah, I don't know the solution, y'all. I think perhaps just doing a longer live stream on a Thursday might work out better for me and hopefully for you. Or, of course, pre recorded is always going to have higher potential of coolness to it. I don't know. Either way, long story short, I'm not going to disappear on y'all. Whether it's live streams or pre recorded, I'll be here. But check out the alkyds, right? I mean, this is all alkyds. They work so nicely. Each tube is affordable. I have no cadmiums to deal with. I have hues. So I've got the cadmium yellow, orange, and red hues. Alrighty, let's add a little more depth to this. These alkyds are wonderful. Absolutely. My favorite paints ever. Alkyds. Yes, expensive paint's not required for a good painting. And cast shadow from the hair. So once the alkyds start to dry a little bit, add some linseed oil to the brush, and they're just fine. Gotta say, fairly pleased with the result. This is alkyd oil paint on a watercolor cotton canvas panel. So if you buy the watercolor cotton, it's still primed with acrylic. You can still paint on it with oil paint, and it's smoother. Smoother than the usual cotton canvas. Thanks, Mark L. Yeah, you can see a difference, and probably again not a smart marketing thing for me to admit, but you can see a difference when I work from life more frequently throughout the week versus when I don't. So if I go a whole week without working from life or longer, uh, the work I do starts to look a little too referencey, I guess. Too flat, I will say. And I hate to say that because I know, I get a lot of compliments from all of you with my videos, even the ones that I'm talking about that are not as real or dimensional, but yeah, it's something I've been noticing, and it was pointed out to me by one of my mentors. Yeah, I had a start of a painting of a portrait yesterday, an 18 by 24 that and I don't usually say this, but it was so strong of a start of a painting that I didn't recognize my own painting anymore. It was so strong I didn't recognize. Like I felt like someone else had painted it, and I didn't want to take a picture of it. I still have yet to take a picture of it. I don't even want to look at a picture of it. You ever notice when you take a picture of a painting that you're doing from life, it just for some reason it just doesn't look as good? The answer to that's simple. Photography is hard. It's hard to get a good photograph of anything. But yeah, that's why I don't even want to take a picture of it. um, there's just something else, I guess, something extra to when you paint from life more frequently, and I can't really figure out what it is. Yeah, I was one of them that would say that because I had the means to do it when I lived in Maryland. But now I'm just driving hours and hours of driving to go paint in Maryland. There is a group here on Thursdays that does short poses, and that's cool. I mean, like there's a lot to be gained from short poses at whatever stage you're in. I just didn't really realize it until recently. It's just something I overlooked because I did it so much when I was younger. I think what happens when you work from life more is that you're actually focused on um, not just sharp edges everywhere and millions of plane changes, um, but it's just you're more actively seeing. I don't know how to describe it. But there are things that I picked up in the 2 hour sketches that we were doing. We did 20 of them. Uh, Paint handling wise, there's things that I picked up that were useful in the life painting. Really useful, actually. So they all balance. Life is but one complicated balancing act. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you observe more the more you look. Alrighty, y'all. I think this has gone pretty much far enough for the purposes of this stream. I still would not call this one a finished painting. I'll probably work on it a little bit before I go to the art group today. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you would prefer. Because my schedule is going to be a little different now that I'm going to try to make it to these live painting sessions. Do you want a long stream on Thursday? And I'm talking about probably like maybe, I don't know, like 2 to 5 or so. Or do you want the pre-recorded? Or we'll just do what we just did. I mean, you know me. I always alternate between different styles of videos and painting and things, so you know me. Eesh. Just when you think you're done. Thanks for joining, Markel. Eesh, just sticking out too much. Yeah, I mean, I paint what I want to paint, and I've been painting from life all the time, but I do like making videos, so maybe we'll do some still life. I don't know, we'll figure it out, y'all. We'll figure it out. Alrighty then, all that said, thank you so much for the likes. Recap on the 3 things. Be careful with these things. Don't think about color mixtures, rather think about color relationships. Think about hues. Make sure to work from life as often as possible and think positive. Don't compare yourself to what you see on social media or think negatively about your work or your process. All of you create beautiful work and you're always going to continue to improve. This much I am certain of, 100%. Alrighty then. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you the very best, and I'll see you next time.